Right, well, this is scaring me. This is like an extra robot moving ahead. It's fine. So, yeah, we'll go through what's been submitted, and then if there's something you would like to contribute, as I said, there's a way to do that. I'll tell you the timelines as we go through. So a little bit about myself and why I was invited to be a co-convener for this week. I was teaching for over 15 years in schools, humanities specialist in secondary education, but ended up being SENCO. I kind of fell into the role and really enjoyed my time doing that. I stepped into AT to work on the IT initiative to train education courses at Derby, and most of my involvement in those programs is to do with inclusive practice in the classroom. So I'm teaching teachers how to hopefully adapt their lessons to be more inclusive. It's frustratingly short the amount of time that we have to do that. Okay. But I try and do the best job I can with the time that I have. I'm actually stepping partially out of AT with a new role in September, which is working for a college group. It's a nationwide college group that is for neurodivergent students. They have art courses, creative courses, entrepreneur courses, and they are based in heritage like establishments, so museums, country houses, and I'm going with these programs there as well. So I'm still keeping my connection with Buckingham, still working in LT, but I'm going back to work with real students, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's kind of me and my journeys here. I have two fellow Rick conveners. I've got Wendy Conrad, who works with me at Derby, and she was also a SENCO and is a specialist in SEND. And we also have Donny Adams, Dr. Donny Adams, who is in Melbourne, which is why he is not here. He's probably asleep somewhere in Australia, depending on the time differences there. So, if you are happy to introduce yourselves, that would be fabulous. If you want to say, I'm not going to do like an icebreaker. That's not what we're here for. If you could just say who you are, where you've come from, that would be really lovely. So, if you don't mind me starting at this side.
That's fine. My name's Beth. I'm head of subject for psychotherapy and counselling, therapy, and there's other things at University of South Wales, which is just down the road. So welcome to Wales. So lovely to have an international conference on your doorstep. My particular interest is in social justice models of co-production with communities, so how we bring communities into informal education, and really importantly, how we support communities to be able to disseminate their knowledge back to service providers and policy makers. So lovely to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Nina Thomas. I'm from Laval University in Quebec, so I'm far away. I'm a PhD candidate, and my work is at the intersection of inclusion, stereotype threat, neurodivergence, and systems change.
So we will have some things in common, which are great to discuss.
Yes, and so I've worked on a neurodiversity school model, but I'm actually here to present my doctoral work is how to create school organizational culture for our neurodivergent staff, because we do actually have final. So I'm really interested. Sunday morning.
You've submitted an abstract already. That's your. Have you?
I don't think I have.
Oh, so there's one that you'd be interested in, but I feel like you might want to after we've finished talking. So that's fabulous. Okay. Hello and welcome.
I'm Susie. This obviously is a neurodivergent help. As to introduce you.
Yes.
So yes, I work in Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm a Scottish Islander, which is what my research is about. Rural and island schools. We're trying to save ourselves from urban saviour syndrome. That's quite a lot. But in terms of inclusion, we have to operate a completely different model. There are no special schools, there are no specialist colleges. It has to, by nature of design, be far more inclusive. And how we do that is completely different to your urban models, where you're always looking outwards for who can help and who can support. We have to be self-sustaining in how we do that. with ADHD, and I'm lucky that an awful lot of work at Queen Margaret University, an awful lot of my colleagues are neurodivergent. So we basically invented a neurodivergent coup, which is great.
Thank you so much. And I realise that we're in an odd situation because there's not a lot of us. There's a big room also doing the presentation. I realise that, so thank you for introducing it. Hello.
Hello everyone. My name is Jose. I came from Chile to attend the conference, so I spent a few days in Barcelona before coming here. So I got I already said I'm bragging because I just submitted the final version of my dissertation 3 days ago. So and my dissertation is actually on inclusive education and educational leadership.
Yeah.
Because I've been working into leadership from an improvement perspective for a few years until I had the opportunity to do the PhD, and I realized I needed to do the inclusive and socially just turn, which I'm just trying to find out where does that go. I interrogate practices. I use the theory from structures, and you're familiar with it, which kind of states that practice is whatever you do when you talk, when you act, and when you relate to other people. So I thought that would be a nice approach to inclusion. So it's just not only about statements, but how to enact it on a daily basis. And now I'm working on a research center, so I'm trying to figure out what to do next after the PhD is done. So I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, congratulations. It's a big question what to do next. And also, you get used to working in a certain way when you're doing your doctorate, and so suddenly that changing, it's something to get used to, isn't it? So thank you for joining us. I'm jealous of Barcelona.
Hello, I'm Sophie Potter. I work at the University of Nottingham, and I'm promoting them and trying to get rid of us all. That's why I'm at the moment. I run the Masters in Special and Inclusive Education there, and I'm in the middle of my doctorate, which is looking at school leaders and if they feel their kind of conceptualisation of inclusion is imposed on them by being part of trust, and how free they feel to enact their own concepts of inclusion. So I use a lot of audio in my work, which I'm like tomorrow.
Right. This is. I'm taking Stephen with me.
I was wondering if we should be the ones.
Yay! I don't know what to do. Stephen, this is quite awkward in terms of how to position you. I want you to be able to see the really lovely people we've got here. We can hear you better than we can see you.
Well, that's okay.
So I'm going to hold Stephen here. Stephen has been Stephen's been heavily involved in all of our inclusion work this year. Are you okay just to say hello to everyone, Stephen?
I will. Yeah. I'm Steve Willoughby. Obviously, I've been involved with BELMAS for a number of years, actually, but I got myself involved with inclusion on a couple of levels. But at the moment, I've just completed a book on the views of teaching assistants, and I think the book went out a year or so ago. I am now being asked to do some work with teaching assistants, but specifically on special educational needs, because this is a major issue here at the moment, and it's a crisis. So at the although it's very nice to do a book, and one's got some money, which was quite nice. But basically, my focus now really is on teaching assistants, but within the area of special educational needs and disabilities. And the other point, I suppose, that was I did an abstract on this field, because there is very little about teaching assistants in England anyway, and we need to have more out there, because on the one hand, there's little about TAs, but the views of TAs themselves have not been around hardly at all. Okay.
Thank you, Stephen. That is brilliant. Thank you so much. And I've kind of positioned you on top of the projector so everyone can see you. That's very well right now.
Thank you.
This feels very 21st century. And you've seen a glimpse into how I operate. It's generally chaos, but it works out in the end. So luckily we're all in inclusive praxis, so hopefully you understand. So my plan now that we've all said hello, and thank you for that, is just to run through the ideas that we've got already as an abstract. Some of you are represented here already, which is fantastic. And then just talk through the next steps. So if you would like to, as we've discussed already, add to the compilation that we've got of abstracts, then I can give you the details for that as well. And if you have, like Stephen has also submitted an abstract already, if you'd like to talk about it, then great. If you're happy, if you just want me to talk about it and introduce it, that's also fine. So, oh, actually, right, I've got there. No. Hey, there we go. Okay, it's all working. That's quite a miracle. So we've had 15 proposed chapters so far, which is really exciting. I was saying earlier, at one point I've got 3, and I thought, what are we going to do about this? I've got a few questions to ask the Myers book people, and luckily they're here today. So anything that I can't answer, I shall go and find out. We've actually got submissions from all over the kind of BELMAS rigs, which is great. It's not just about inclusion leadership. There are other interests, and I guess the intersectionality about research as well that's represented here, which is fabulous. So first one is to do with the establishment of Indian languages in the curriculum of schools in the United Kingdom and beyond, inclusive leadership practice. It's looking at, I mean, obviously this is UK lens, looking at curriculums, languages in schools from an inclusive leadership perspective. This is something that is not one of my areas of expertise. It's case study, it's about curriculum reform, and obviously about inclusive leadership. So I think this is a really exciting addition to what we're hoping to achieve with the book. We've also had, I realise I'm looking at the screen and talking. Many years ago, when I trained to be a teacher, we had to be recorded. We had to record ourselves teaching. And that was hellish and horrible. And the thing I took away from it was I used to talk and look at the board at the same time. And I realised I'm having to do that in this particular setup. So apologies for that. We've also got from hierarchy to hybridity, emerging forms of leadership in post-compulsory education. We've got representatives from all over the UK and the world here, which is really exciting. This is looking at post-compulsory education. I'm stepping into that world as of September, so I'm going to be finding out what that will be like as well in terms of inclusion leadership, because I'm doing it, I'm living that. Hybrid leadership and organisational change. We have got exploring middle leadership from Steve Lambert. He attended our first meeting about this, offering practical takeaway guidance on middle leadership. So one of the ways that you can present work here, it can be a formal academic journal article, or it can be a reflective piece. So there are different ways that your ideas can be communicated.
It's better, right? Just a question. There's no limit for the number of proposals.
Well, this is one of the things I need to ask. At the moment, we have 15. That would be a really nice size book. I know you want to submit today. I need to ask about the word limit, and that's something that I'm going to find out today, because that hasn't been shared as of yet.
I wasn't asking about the word limit.
In terms of the number of chapters.
Exactly.
Yes. I will be finding that out while we're here. We've got legitimising the arbitrary using Bordeaux's hierarchy. Yeah. Please tell me about this.
It's kind of one of his concepts in a book he did about photography, which talks about how we legitimise forms of cultural kind of processes and applied it to education. So I'm saying the policy sphere is very legitimate. You've got your leaders in the middle that are kind of legitimisable but not legitimate, and the arbitrary day-to-day practice, and how leaders have got this kind of Jonas-like looking towards their schools and their students as well as towards policy, and how they kind of bring those two spaces together.
Exciting. And is this linked to your doctoral research? Or is this
I'm not
separate?
sure yet.
Oh, okay.
It might be one concept too far, so the supervisor says.
Okay. But this is something that you got interested in, and
Yes,
therefore.
so I've used this in previous research, and
Yeah.
I really like it as a kind of process for looking at it as a lens for how leaders manage external and internal priorities. So that's where.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And do you know what, to add to my comment about how many chapters, the reason I hadn't asked that and pinned him down was until earlier this week we only had 8. So it wasn't an issue, and suddenly we've been there, we've had a lot more come through, which is fabulous. Thank you so much for explaining that in a little bit more detail. And you've also got Jerry Bailey on there. Is that your?
Yeah, he is retired, but he's a colleague that's worked with me on this.
Fabulous. Okay. So anyone else, if it comes to yours, please say, because I've already forgotten names, which is terrible of me. So regulating tertiary education at an age of expansion, equity and digital disruption, perspectives on democratizing government. It's got the dreaded words, quality assurance. That's all over. I don't know, at other people's universities, there's a lot of quality assurance that goes on. My favourite sentence was, we're going to QA the QA. But anyway, I think in terms of digital disruption, this is a really interesting concept. And it's comparable across different countries. We're looking at the UK, Kenya and Ghana. So bringing a world perspective in there, which is great. We've got advancing inclusive principal leadership specifically, a framework and guide for higher education preparation programs and professional development. So I think what I found really exciting about this is we had a title and people have gone in lots of different directions with it. So, and that's okay. Actually, that's really good. I'm really pleased about that.
Are you editing it?
Yes, we will be. Well, we're compiling it, and the Mayas, they'll be doing the finer detail. But yeah,
But you're going to think about how to position.
yes,
Oh, that'd be fun.
yeah, yes, definitely. It's going to be good. I'm feeling very excited about the fact that we've got this opportunity, and I think something that's great about this, we've been given this opportunity, and I'm still waiting to hear back about the journal article that I submitted July last year. I had to chase. I was told it was accepted, did some amendments, and then rejected it again. So actually having this opportunity to have a little bit of a bit of freedom, I think is really cool. And in terms of our rig as well and the people that we are representing, I'm really excited about this opportunity. So leading from the ground up, courage, care and collaboration in early childhood. So we've got leadership in early years here as well. So not only some global perspectives, but also we've got an age range from 80 right down to early years. Looking at Honneth's theory of recognition. I don't know what that is. That's a new one to me. Okay. Beyond compliance, what is the point of governance in further education? So looking at regulatory compliance, how it's a misleading proxy for governance effectiveness. This is a really interesting one. It kind of resonates with some of the experience that I've had in terms of why are we doing the things that we're doing. I was in a meeting talking to inclusion people here about some really good work that a colleague and I had done under the umbrella of belonging, that we'd had some really excellent feedback from our students about this element of the course, and the reaction from leadership was that looked good for Ofsted. And I sat there and I thought, this is not why we're doing it. And I realise that's specific to ITE in higher education, but in terms of that sort of compliance, and if we're looking at why we are inclusive practitioners and why it's important to us, we did it because it was a good thing to do and the right thing to do and a very natural thing to do for myself and my colleague. And for that to be the reaction, yeah, not so good in terms of, as I say, the reason why we're here and why we do the things we do. So we've got becoming governance ready, recruitment, induction and democratic partition in school governance. So this is, we've got two here talking about governance. It'll be interesting to see if there's any kind of contrasting ideas. Looking at primary school governor training specifically, to highlight inconsistent induction and compliance focused training. So quite a focus here on, in terms of governors specifically in primary schools. And it's an interesting, I don't know what it's like in Chile in terms of school governance, but we have, and in fact in the islands of Scotland, I don't know.
We don't have any school government.
There we go. I just suddenly thought, yes,
So
that's completely different.
There is, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
In structure. And it's just been changed.
Okay.
It's like that.
A little bit
They're
too.
trying to change it, but it's not that. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
A lot of, some of the compliance things that we're talking about, and
Yeah.
the performance reviews and all of that, that's actually weaved into our school education laws.
Right.
So there's this imperative where school leaders have to be trained in a specific way because they are responsible for these action plans that they have to do within the school. So there is an oversight. And from there, they've just removed the governing body of the elected school trustees to replace them with these advisory boards of anybody who can just sort of jump in.
Wow.
And, parents, and there's been issues with that. So, this, they don't know how to be on a governing board. And yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh, and like the big change.
Yes.
I think it is. So in terms of, in terms of having another body that, if something goes wrong in a school. So for example, for our safeguarding, if you have a concern with the head teacher, it's the governors that you go to. There is this sort of another layer of, you would hope, kind of protection and support. But you can have governors, although they are elected in, you can have governors from all walks of life. And in terms of their training, I don't think there is like a definite blueprint for exactly what that looks like. And I've worked in a school that was a private school that didn't have governors. So that would be similar to potentially the school system a little bit there, but it's kind of, it's an interesting concept.
They had to bring in ombudsmen,
right?
Because the way it works is we have the educational law for public schools, and then we have the educational law for private schools within the province, and it's not the same. So leaders within private schools, they have to lead the school like it would be nonprofit, which means that they're 100% imputable for everything that happens. Whereas public school leaders are not actually in any way accountable. It's the governing body, which is the moral. So they just shift people over. So the leaders don't actually have any kind of accountability. It's the moral. It's the moral. What is it called? La personne morale.
Like a more comparative.
Yeah, well, the person, if you want to sue, for example, like as a parent, as a person, if you want to go and sue, for wrongdoing, you can't actually address a head teacher. You can't actually address the school. It's the school board that happens to be the authority, which is the moral authority that you can actually address. Which means that school leaders are not accountable. So they get shifted around. So within public school systems, this is the way it works. It's specific back. Whereas private schools, which are also 60% funded by the government for another reason, those, even the vice principals are accountable. So sometimes people will choose to send their kids to these private schools just to be able to have this accountability system, because those ombudsmen that are sort of there in the public system, still a work in progress.
You want to sue a school?
It does happen. Yeah,
Wow.
a lot.
Wow.
It does happen.
See, this is why, despite the slightly awkward setup that we have here in the room, I love this, because you find out, like, that is, wow. And how, so we're obviously inclusion leadership is our thing. How do you think that setup affects inclusive practice in school?
It 100% affects it.
Yeah.
We did a study recently to you know, it was called being militant despite not wanting to be militant.
Yeah.
So it's all of the energy that was wasted trying to explain and to re-explain needs for special ed, for neurodivergent students within the regular system, and what that cost the students, what that cost the parents, and what they would do, and all of the different steps that they took in order to, you know, try to make this understood. And a lot of them went all the way to the government, went public. You know, some of them decided to go to court. Some of them just took students out of the school, put them in private schools because it was just marginally more expensive. So it does affect, because if nobody's accountable, right? So, and I'm not saying performance isn't necessarily the issue, but I mean they're accountable for grades, for you know, but they're not accountable for the service that they provide for individual students.
That's kind of just blown my mind. I don't even know what to say about that.
Can I just compliment, because I think it's also problematic from my point of view, thinking that we do have a high accountability system in Chile, where it's strictly associated with funding. If you have higher learning outcomes, then you get funding, and if you decrease your outcomes, you get your funding taken away, so the government will intervene in the school. Additionally, we have an inclusion program. We use a voucher system. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Like, every student has a specific value, but if that student is diagnosed with a special educational need, his value increases. So instead of providing inclusion, what happened when principals became accountable, but at the same time they realized they could get additional funding, is that they started to overdiagnose students that they already had, instead of receiving students with that actually had the disabilities. So certain diagnoses emerged in the Chilean context that were really vague, like having a specific learning disability became a diagnosis, having a limited cognitive function, which is not disability, it's just in the middle. It was a diagnosis that was invented by the Ministry of Education. So principals used these labels and diagnoses just to enroll students, but they were accountable. So what's the cost of accountability? I think that's an interesting.
That's a really
think about.
Interesting.
We have a voucher system too, and so once again, you know, codes, right? Students were given codes which stigmatized them, right? And then of course the codes were removed because it was a system that didn't work very well, and the government realized, hey, we're spending a lot of money. And but so I mean, the students are still there, and then the union gets it, because all of the collective agreements have to do with teacher well-being and their what is it called again? Their working conditions. And so if you have these students, you know, so many students that have this type of code, you shouldn't have more of those in the classroom, because it limits your ability to teach, and it, you know, it limits your quality of work, and you know, so they're all kind of getting involved. So the system, it's less than perfect. But
we don't have vouchers that doesn't tie to money. But we have bandings, so stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Being stage 1 is they can be supported in school. There's no multi-agency involvement. Stage 2 is that they do have external agency involvement theoretically. It's entirely theoretical, like a teaching assistant or whatever providing help. Stage 3 is they've actually got 2 or more external agencies involved. In stage 4 is that you're looked after, you know, adopted or whatever, but it doesn't equate to any funding whatsoever.
No.
It's just a, well, I want to make a better level.
It's
for,
kind of
for statistic. Well, so theoretically, and this is entirely theoretical because this is more of a mainland problem, is that you say you have a stage 3 child. So you've got someone with really, really severe autism who is totally ripping up your classroom, and on the mainland they might have, I think, well, at the age of 5 you can only have 20 kids in the class, but when they get to 10 they can have 30. So, and you've got 30 other kids in the class, so you can put it to a committee that you need that teaching assistant time or that alternative provision for that student, and you have to fight the committee. But if you make a single mistake in the paperwork, they send it back, so you have to wait 6 months before you can be, so then you can see how they get out. But on the islands, there's no point trying to apply for any extra funding or any extra support because it doesn't exist. Even if you got the money or whatever, it's not like there's another teacher that you can just deploy. They aren't there. So the problem we have gained is that we joke that there's a big sign at the ferry terminal that says special education this way, because if you don't want your child in a special education needs school, if you don't want your child in a secure school, because if you try to murder all the classmates, your easiest way to get them out is to come to a Scottish island.
Wow.
Because there is no alternative.
Yeah.
You have to be within that school.
So do you get families that
yes.
literally
Every
move
2
to an
weeks.
island?
Every 2 weeks. They will move to a Scottish island because it's going to solve all the problems. And to be fair, it does for the most part.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to working inclusive by design.
Yeah.
And so many families, you know, if you're born and bred on that island and you've got Down syndrome or whatever, then everyone has adapted from the stage of their birth and mothers and toddlers into, you know, nursery or early years, like the kindergarten kind of thing, up into the primary, up into the secondary, and we just mould and adapt. And what we found is that your parent council, they're technically a charity, so they can apply for charity funding. So what we did is the parent councils will apply for the funding, and then we just employ our own speech language therapists, our own family therapy, our own art therapists, whatever we need at that point in time, and just take the local authority out of the equation and the NHS out of the equation. So we've just discovered that a child mental health nurse has moved to the island. So we're now going to employ her.
Yeah.
So,
Can I actually come in on this, please?
Of course you can, Stephen.
I'm a bit concerned about the time because I've got here now. I don't mind if we want to talk about this; it's fine. But I've got here from quarter past 5 to 6 o'clock, and you're coming up to 6 o'clock.
Oh, thank you, Stephen, for saying that.
I'm sorry, you've got another 6 pieces to see, and
Well,
we need
to look through those, Stephen. Thank you for herding me in the right direction. That was just absolutely fascinating, though. Yes, please go through it. Seriously, that's amazing. It's just, I had no idea. This is naivety on my part. I had no idea there was such a difference within the education system. I mean, I realised, you know, there were differences between Scotland and England and Wales, but wow. And you found your own ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Stephen, for prodding me to carry on.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So we have just a few more to go. We've got community-rooted resilience model for school leadership. We have, and that's from the University of North Carolina. We have got creativity and well-being for educational leaders, leading in conditions of complexity. Again, this is about transnational research between Wales and the United States. Honestly, I'm blown away with what people have contributed. Yeah, it's really, really cool. We've got inclusive leadership in sustainability orientated educational contexts. That one I'm going to have to think about a moment. In Turkey and the United States. So again, lots of global perspectives represented. We've got leading differently, experience in neurodivergent education leaders and the development of the SUSTAIN network. So this is something that we started off talking about right at the beginning. So that may well be of interest to some of you sitting in the room. Are we excluding our introverts from becoming leaders? So that is a really interesting topic there. Yeah, and it's about institutional cultures, and yeah, I'm sure that we can think about some of the things that's going to be brought into that chapter, and I think it's a really important thing to be presenting. And Stephen, I don't know whether yours is here.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not here.
I don't know. Did you do it through the jot form, or was it because you just sent it to me?
I sent one to you and one through them.
Right, bear with me. I'll get yours up in a second.
Okay.
This is my contribution, and one of the things that I'm interested in is about teacher wellbeing and collaborative leadership. So I'm looking at inclusion from a different lens. I'm looking about building community and about how collaborative leadership helps with inclusive leadership. So it's a different lens here completely to some of the things we've been talking about. And bear with me, I'm just gonna disconnect this a moment so I can get yours up, Stephen, and apologies for that. I don't know why that hasn't come through. Because technology and me sometimes.
We spent on there just to research on.
Here we go.
Theory. So we had 12 chapters, but we just said by the island, we've done one on island education around the world, and it's 16 chapters. I've asked for more.
Oh, okay.
So they build it for.
Right, I've got it, Stephen. Looking ahead it to hand. So I'm just popping that up there and reconnecting everything. Hopefully, if this is working. Right, so just need to reshare it. Oh my goodness. And all of this is being recorded, so my digital skills are going to be there for everybody to see. No, not everybody.
But is it just one book or a couple of books for all the readers?
Well,
Just one book
no,
per
it's
reader?
per rig. So that's
Okay.
why we've got some. Oh, and it's not sharing. Of course, it's sharing. Yeah.
Like they can sit somewhere
The
else.
cable on the
Yes,
top.
exactly. So that's going to be part of our. That's going to be part of our job, looking through what we've been submitted. Sorry.
But they're like just as a lay person, that's quite difficult to work out with the tools they have.
Okay.
Which one you would fit in because they were quite broad.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is about communication about expectations. So I will, as I said, I'm going to be talking to the man himself today, or tomorrow morning if he's gone home after this.
Yeah.
To get some concrete answers to some of the questions. So we've collated everything, and I do need to find out some more information. So apologies for that.
No, it's not really good bothered, but I procrastinated over it because I couldn't work out which one it went. So it's interesting that you still got it open as well.
Yes, well, that was a decision that I made, knowing that we were talking today. I thought it's really silly closing when new people might be involved.
Yes.
So that I thought
still don't think, even looking at that, I know.
So Stephen, could you just have a quick talk through your abstract?
I will.
You
Yes.
submitted?
Okay, fine. The abstract actually looks at the most recent situation with teaching assistants in schools, in particularly in England, though it's fairly similar across the UK. The major issues really are, one, pay is a major issue. It really is, and TAs are leaving. And well, you could say about teachers, but TAs particularly, and they're a large group now. Two, that they have very little in a national structure, that they have CPD. So they come into school, start helping kids, and have no background. And this has been going on. Now the government are saying we're going to change all this. We are going to spend a lot of time on inclusion. Well, yes, but the fact of the matter is, TAs need support right across from partial to the curriculum, and this has not been going on for something like 20-25 years. And so this abstract is really looking at the problems of what the government are putting forward now, and how ordinary schools are going to deal with that, because there are going to be issues. Now, I'm probably going to a couple of schools when I'm doing this, but the fact of the matter is, the bottom line, you're trying to make the point that if you do not give good support for TAs to come in and to give them a reasonable payment, then that area of inclusion is going down the pan. And the bottom line is that that teaching will not be as effective for children, and that for me is really central. If you're not a team, you're not an effective team in the school, you got problems, major problems. And I think schools are having major problems like that now. It's been clear by the government. It was clear by the education committee, and a number of schools have been saying this to me for quite some time. So there you go.
Thank you, Stephen. That is fabulous. So what I'm going to do is hopefully see, I'm having to do multiple sharings of things very quickly, just run through the deadlines for things, and then I will let everybody go to their evening. So I have extended the deadline to Friday the 17th of July in order to get your abstracts to me. I will go and talk to the Myers book series people about numbers. I would like as many as possible. If we can have a massive fat inclusion rig book with our contributions, then that would be fantastic. But as pointed out, there are some that could perhaps go to other rigs. So I don't want people, I don't want you not to be presented here. I would prefer to include as much as we can. So I'm just sending round a pad to pop your email and name on, please, because then I can email you directly, because you have kindly come in person. Stephen, I have all your details, so we'll definitely be in contact. I will send the jot form out. I will do that after this presentation, so you can put your abstracts in. We're hoping for the full chapters to be drafted autumn. So that gives you some time to do that. I will get a specific date once I've pinned this poor man down that will not be too pleased of me harassing him with questions tomorrow. And then we're hoping for this to be published in spring next year. So less than a year away, but hopefully enough time to give you to write these things. And what I would like is a dialogue. So I will be in contact with you. I'd like to set this up as a way of communicating and kind of just giving you extra detail as that comes into me as well. I believe so. So that we will be looking at it, selecting. I'm hoping to have as much as we can the chapters. the Myers Public Education and Press, they're going to be working with us in terms of editing and what happens next. So I'm gonna ask a lot of questions and send out specifics to you. So thank you for coming along in person. It's really lovely to see everybody and coping with this slightly strange arrangement we have, particularly as Stephen is also sitting on a projector and as we've done it as a hybrid version. Thank you for that. And if you have any questions, well, you'll have my email address because I'm going to email you directly. So, and fascinating, so interesting, comparing inclusion. It's blown my mind, honestly. I'm sure there's some challenges as well as successes.
We don't talk about them.
Don't talk about the challenges.
Stephen gone.
Stephen,
Hi, Stephen.
it is really lovely to have you here. Thank you for coming online.
That's fine, and I'll start putting together something so that we can talk about it later.
That would be wonderful. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye, Stephen.
Bye, Stephen. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Sorry, where do you want?
Right, it's a little pad just coming round.